Good morning, dear students. This is Suresh Shukla. So let's start our discussion for the topic named Space Debris. Space debris. I think आपने सुना होगा the word debris. That means junk, general. If I'm talking about general meaning of debris is junk. हिंदी में हम कह सकते हैं कि कचड़ा. So we can say this space debris, जिसमें debris का means junk है, that is also known as space junk, space pollution, space waste, space trash, or finally space garbage. These all are the synonym for space debris. This either space junk, space pollution, space waste, space trash, or space garbage is defunct human-made objects in space, principally in Earth orbit, which no longer serve a useful function. These include derelict spacecraft, that means non-functional spacecraft, and abandoned launch vehicle stages like mission-related debris, and particularly numerous in Earth orbit. Fragmentation debris from the breakup of derelict rocket bodies and spacecraft. In addition to derelict human-built objects left in orbit, other examples of space debris include fragments from their disintegration, erosion and collisions, or even paint flakes, solidified liquid expels from spacecraft, and unburned particles from solid rocket motors. Generally, dear students, this space debris represents a risk to spacecraft. A space debris is typically a negative externality. It creates an external cost on others from the initial action to launch or use a spacecraft in near Earth orbit, a cost that is typically not taken into account nor fully accounted for in the cost by the launcher or payload owner. The measurement, mitigation, and potential removal of debris are conducted by some participants in the space industry. As of October 2019, the US Space Surveillance Network reported nearly 20,000 artificial objects in orbit above the Earth, including 2,218 operational satellites. However, these are just the objects large enough to be tracked. As of January 2019, more than 128 million pieces of debris smaller than 1 centimeter, that is about 0.4 inch, about 9 lakh pieces of debris 1 to 10 centimeter and around 34,000 of pieces larger than 10 centimeter, that is 3.9 inch, were estimated to be in orbit around the Earth. When the smallest objects of human-made space debris like paint flakes, which I have mentioned, paint flakes, solid rocket, exhaust particles, etc., are grouped with micrometeorites. They are together sometimes referred to by space agencies such as MMOD. This is micrometeoroid and orbital debris. Collision with debris have become a hazard to spacecraft. The smaller objects cause damage akin to sand blasting, especially to the solar panels of the satellites, and optics like telescope or star trackers that cannot easily be protected by ballistic shields. So below 2000 km Earth altitude, pieces of debris are denser than meteorites. Most are dust from solid rocket motors, surface erosions, debris like paints, flakes, and frozen coolant from RORSat, nuclear powered satellite. For comparison, the ISS, International Space Station, orbits in the 300 to 400 kilometers range, while the two most recent large debris events in 2007 Chinese anti-sat weapon test and the 2009 satellite collision occurred at 800 to 900 kilometers. The ISS has weapon shielding to resist damage from small MMOD, however known debris. With a collision chance, however, 1 upon 10,000 are avoided by maneuvering the station. So let's talk about the history of space debris. Space debris began to accumulate in Earth orbit immediately with the first launch of an artificial satellite in the orbit in 1957. After the launch of Sputnik 1, I have told you in my video lecture, the first satellite which was launched was Sputnik 1. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, began compiling a database, the Space Object Catalog, of all known rockets, launches, and objects reaching orbit, satellites, protective shields, and upper stages of launch vehicles. NASA later published modified version of the database in the two-line element set, and beginning in the early 1980s, the CellStrack bulletin board system republished them. The trackers who fed the database were aware of other objects in orbit, many of which were the result of in-orbit explosions. Some were deliberately caused during the 1960s anti-satellite weapon, termed as ASAT, testing, and other were the result of rocket stages blowing up in orbit as a leftover. Propellant expanded and ruptured their tanks. To improve tracking, NORAD employee John Gabbard kept a separate database studying the explosion. Gabbard developed a technique for predicting the orbital path of their products, and Gabbard diagram or plots are now widely used. These studies were used to improve the modeling of orbital evolution and decay. Dear students, when the NORAD database became publicly available during 1970s, techniques developed by the asteroid belt were applied to the study to the database of known artificial satellite Earth objects. In addition to approaches to debris reduction, where time and natural gravitational atmospheric effects help to clear space debris, a variety of technologies, approaches that have been proposed to reduce space debris. Number of scholars have observed that institutional factors, political, legal, economic, and cultural rules of the game are the greatest impediment to cleanup of Earth space. So by 2014, there was little commercial incentive to reduce space debris, since the cost of dealing with is not assigned to the entity producing it, but rather falls on all users of the space environment, and rely on human society as a whole that benefits from space technologies and knowledge. A number of suggestions for improving institutions so as to increase the incentive to reduce space debris have been made. These include government mandates to create incentives, as well as companies coming to see economic benefit to reducing debris more aggressively than existing government standard practices. Dear students, in 1979, that was the case of 1979, NASA founded the Orbital Debris Program to research mitigation measures for space debris in Earth orbit. So, let's talk about the debris growth. During the 1980s, NASA and other US groups attempted to limit the growth of debris. One trial solution was implemented by McDonnell Douglas for the Delta launch vehicle by having the booster move away from its payload and vent any propellant remaining in its tank. This eliminated one source for pressure buildup in the tanks, which had previously caused them to explode and create additional orbital debris. Other countries were slower to adopt this measure, and due especially to a number of launches by the Soviet Union, the problem grew throughout the decade. As in 2006, NASA model suggested that if no new launches took place, the environment would retain then known population until about 2055, when it would increase on its own. Richard Rother of Britain's Defense Evaluation and Research Agency said in 2002 that he believed the cascade would begin about 2015. The National Academy of Sciences, summarizing the professional view, noted widespread agreement that two bands of LEO space, 900 to 1000 km and 1500 km, were already past critical density. So in 2009, European Air and Space Conference, University of Southampton researchers Hugh Lewis predicted that the threat from space debris would rise 50% in the next decade. quadruple in the next 50 years. As of 2009, more than 13,000 close calls were tracked weekly. In 2011 report by the US National Research Council warned NASA that the amount of orbiting space debris was at critical level. According to some computer models, the amount of space debris has reached a tipping point, with enough currently in orbit to continually collide and create even more debris, raising the risk of spacecraft failures. The report called for international regulations limiting debris and research of disposable methods. This is for the debris growth, and if we take the size, so there are estimated to over 128 million pieces of debris smaller than 1 centimeter. As of January 2019, there are approximately 9 lakh pieces from 1 to 10 centimeter. The current count of large debris is about 34,000. If we consider in the low Earth orbit, in the orbits nearest to Earth, less than 2000 km, referred to as low Earth orbit, I have told you, there have traditionally been few universal orbits that keep a number of spacecraft in a particular range. This is beginning to change in 2019, and several companies have begun to deploy the early phases of satellite internet constellations, which will have many universal orbits in LEO with 30 to 50 satellites per orbital plane and altitude. Traditionally, the most populated LEO orbit, this is said to be most populated, have been a number of sun-synchronous satellites that keep a constant angle between the sun and the orbital plane, making Earth observation easier with consistent sun angle and lightning. Sun-synchronous orbits are polar, meaning they cross over the polar regions. LEO satellites orbit in many planes, typically up to 15 times a day, causing frequent approaches between objects. The density of satellites, both active and relict, is much higher in LEO orbit. Orbit are affected by gravitational perturbations, and collisions can occur from any direction. And these collisions are nothing but the space debris, we all know. Impact between orbiting satellites can occur at up to 16 kmph for a theoretical head-on impact. The closing speed could be twice the orbital speed. The 2009 satellite collision occurred at a closing speed of 11.7 kmph, creating over 2000 large debris fragments. The data was 2000 large debris fragments. These debris cross many other orbits and increase debris collision risk. It is theorized that a sufficiently large collision of a spacecraft could potentially lead to a cascade effect, or even make some particular low Earth orbits especially unusual for long-term use by orbiting satellite, a phenomena known as the Kessler syndrome. There was a scientist in NASA, David Kessler. He proposed that if there is a part of any satellite that collide with a new satellite, that results the collision in a multiple numbers. That collision is nothing but the concept of syndrome. उन्होंने बताया कि अगर पेंट का फ्लैक्स ही क्यों ना हो, वो अगर टकरा गया किसी भी पार्ट से, फिर वो अगले पार्ट से, फिर वो अगले पार्ट से, इस तरह मल्टीप्लिकेशन होने लगेगा। जिस प्रकार से एवलांची इफेक्ट था, सेम उसी तरह का कुछ कॉन्सेप्ट। और वो टकराते टकराते बहुत ज्यादा कंडीशंस खराब हो सकती है। और सिर्फ सैटेलाइट के लिए नहीं, जो ह्यूमन बीइंग्स हैं अर्थ पे, उनके लिए भी ये डैमेज का काम कर सकती है। अब जो सैटेलाइट्स लो अर्थ ऑर्बिट्स में हैं डियर स्टूडेंट्स, वो अगर टकरा के गिरते हैं तो नो डाउट ड्यू टू दैट ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स वो कम टाइम में तेजी से वो अर्थ पे गिरेंगे। एंड द लोकेशन इज नॉट फिक्स्ड कि वो कहाँ गिरेंगे, और इसकी वजह से बहुत नुकसान हो सकता है। और उसी कॉन्सेप्ट को हम कहते हैं केसला सिंड्रोम। इसके लिए नासा ने एक बार पूछा भी कई दोस्तों से कि जो सैटेलाइट आप भेजते हैं तो उसको अब भेजना कम करें, क्योंकि बहुत गार्बेज जंक इकट्ठा हो जा रहा है स्पेस में। सो द कंट्रीज कम विथ अ नोवेल सॉल्यूशन। वो एक नोवेल सॉल्यूशन के साथ आते हैं, कहते हैं कि हम या तो लेजर ब्रूम टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करें, या तो नेट यूज करें, मैग्नेटिक नेट। इस तरह की टेक्नोलॉजी को यूज करके जो कचरा गार्बेज स्पेस में है उनको हम खत्म कर सकते हैं। और अगर गार्बेजेस नहीं रहेंगे तो नई सैटेलाइट्स को लॉन्च करने के लिए उतनी प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगा। डियर स्टूडेंट्स, स्पेस इतना छोटा नहीं है, स्पेस बहुत बड़ा है। तो ऐसी प्रॉब्लम अभी तक तो कमी आई है, लेकिन फर्दर आ सकती है, क्योंकि डे बाय डे जैसे जैसे जितने नंबर ऑफ सैटेलाइट्स को लॉन्च किया जा रहा है, वैसे वैसे स्पेस जंक का जो अमाउंट है दैट गोज इंक्रीजिंग। तो ये चाहे लेजर ब्रूम टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करें, चाहे नेट यूज करें, इनमें से कुछ भी यूज करके हम उस गार्बेज को हमें कम करना होगा, क्योंकि फर्दर स्पेस स्लॉट्स वैकेंट होंगे तो ही हम नेक्स्ट सैटेलाइट को लॉन्च कर सकेंगे। एंड दिस इज गुड फॉर ऑल कंट्रीज। So dear students, I hope what I have told you, you better come to understand. If you have any doubt, you can directly ask to me. So thank you so much for today's lecture. Thank you, students.